Greetings, everyone. This is Transparency, Part 4.
Ray's Auto Marine presents Transparency.
Greetings. Welcome to Transparency. This is Transparency, Part 4. You may recognize the picture behind me. It isn't about the city of Ludington. It is about Mason County. Many of you that are watching this and that have watched this in the past, you certainly know that this is an area where you live. This is a 3-county area, an inter-county drain that was just cleared out. When it was cleared out, the Little Thornapple River was gone, according to this article. We can move down here just to go over this a little bit. Talks about the river, talks about the drain. It says this trout stream is also a designated drain under the Michigan Drain Code. One look at this river from aerial photos would confirm that it was long ago designated as a drain and dredged and straightened, removing all of its natural meanders. Now, that'd be quite a debate if we just took that part right out. But what's it say at the beginning? In much of southern Michigan, trout streams are a rare breed. There are a lot of reasons for this rarity, some natural, but many are the result of us turning this part of the state into a working landscape. It's filled with urban areas and farmland that completely altered the natural hydrology of our southern Michigan streams, rendering them impaired or broken in terms of cold, clean water. Well, we've got quite a debate here, don't we? Well, this is an inter-county drain problem. Ludington has an intra-county drain problem. 2 municipalities, a county, and the Department of Transportation in agreement to do what this drain commissioner did. Do his job. But in Ludington, in that inter-county drain agreement, and we're going to have quite a conversation here today about law. We're not going to give you our definition. And we just break off and digress here for a moment. We've given plenty of law on transparency. And just right straight out, we've shown you the law. But law isn't determined by how we believe it or how somebody else believes it. In Mason County, we have a problem with the charter boats being allowed in recreational facilities paid by your gas tax dollars and federal funding that makes it illegal to compete against private organizations. Inter-county drain, that's another issue. Who controls it? Is it really something? Who defines it? Well, let's take a look here. Here's a search from a major law firm that gives all the appellate court cases in the state of Michigan. We can get them from the United States Supreme Court. We don't define the law. The courts have defined the law. So in Ludington, we have this inter-county drain agreement, and the drain is gone just as this one, without the proper maintenance. Sand traps filled up. A watershed, the largest watershed in Michigan. Correct me if I'm wrong. If the Ludington White Lake watershed isn't the largest watershed, tell us which one it is. And this one empties into the Pere Marquette Lake, into Lake Michigan. And this goes back, if you've been watching Transparency, if you haven't, go back. You need to watch them. because this surrounds a meeting that took place on July 18th of 2013. And we're going to go back to that meeting, to the very first part that we've talked about, that you've heard nothing about until today, that you're going to hear about. When the city manager says, we have nothing to do with maintaining that drain. The drain commissioner does. We're going to get to that. So, we're going to highlight this for you. You can see the address. You can take a look at this. This is an interesting debate. This is an interesting debate to be taken up all across the United States. This is about the sustainability of our watersheds. And what are we putting in our watersheds? A major portion of US 10, according to Michigan Sea Grants and their mappings, and US Geological Survey, National Geographic, all put together their survey to show where this water runs. And the retail corridor of US 10 runs through this drain that we're going to show you. Well, we're going to show you where it goes into. Down the road, we're going to show you or show somebody where the drain goes and why nothing's taken place to keep it maintained. So we're going to go to a map from an engineer hired by the city of Ludington to try to come up with some solutions to solve the problem in the Bayou, where there are 3 marinas. One of them is basically shut down from the fill of the sand, from the fill of the road that came in. We're going to describe that for you. And nothing's been done, folks. So, to give you an idea, I wanted you to see from the very beginning something you probably, many of you are very familiar with. You may be able to look at this and know where it's at. It's not Ludington. It's not just Lansing or Lansing area. It is the sustainability of our watersheds. We don't drink water anymore from water wells. We have to pull that in and clean it. You all know that. All right, let's get forward and let's show you. This title says Coldwater River Fiasco Highlights. Should we go as far as to say what you're going to see is a fiasco? Right over here is an aerial picture in your window or your screen. And there's a road that you can't quite see there. But you see the 2 tubes out there. And we'll blow that up so that you can see that better here. We'll blow this up so you can see these 2 tubes. But at one point in time, in 2008, there's a drain that empties from the east to the west. And then it goes out into Pere Marquette Lake and into Lake Michigan. Well, they got plugged up. It tore out the road and it tore out the main sewage line. City tried as fast as they could to get it put back together, but everything remained there. So the public purpose really wasn't met. The drain wasn't cleaned. It got plugged up. And we're going to see some of the history of what happened and what was talked about and who the blame was put on. And we'll find out where the blame really does lie. And when we get that out of the way, then we can move forward and start working towards a partnership to get this fixed.
Limits in relationship to this.
Way to the Sherman, go all the way over to Sherman, 6 blocks that way, to the east.
To the east.
Yeah, for the most
Okay.
part.
So just for a point of clarification, we're talking about somebody fixing their own problem and where the water's coming through Madison, that when the water's being carried through there over decades, that upstream carry.
The watershed brought a lot
The
of.
city of Ludington is, the point of clarification is we know where the city limits are now.
Yep.
Now, the point of clarification is who's responsible for the drain and sewage utilities that go through there?
The drain commissioner is responsible for the maintenance of that drain, not the city of Ludington.
But the city of Ludington has their responsibility with the sewage line and utilities that go through there.
So-
And there was
Did that seem to be an easy point? That the drain commission is responsible for the drain? That was the city manager and the mayor that were giving the directions. They were actually answering my questions about the drain, about the city limits, and about who was responsible for it. They're very clear that the drain commission is responsible for that portion of what came through that Madison Avenue and emptied into the bayou. If we had wanted to spend a lot of time, we could show you pictures of the video of that flowing through here. We're just trying to establish some points and get things so that we can move forward. So please just take a look. We're going to take a look at the document and see who's really responsible at this point and at that point for that drain. As we look at the agreement here, we see the apportioned amounts go to the Charter Township of Pere Marquette at 39.9%, 29.4% is apportioned to the city of Ludington, 25% to the county of Mason, and 5.7% is apportioned to the Michigan Department of Transportation. It's certified and signed by the chairman of the Mason County Intra-County Drainage Board, and the responsibility has been turned over. So it's disappointing, as I said earlier, that either the people didn't know this existed or forgot it existed. It's odd that the drain commissioner was sitting at the table and didn't seem willing to bring this out. The city owns property in this bayou. All right, so let's just take a look at the language. This is the final order of apportionment. This is an order. This isn't a request. This isn't, will you please? This is an order. Now, the county drain laws, or I should just say the drain code, this is, when an order is issued by the drain commissioner, it's just as if a judge issues an order. You have to abide by it. This is for the Creamy Quarters Outlet Extension Intra-County Drain. That map we saw of the culverts coming out, those are the new culverts that are in. We're going to take a look at that again. You can see the sand that's coming through there. But let's look at the responsibility of there. Be it known that I, David A. Hazenbank, was the former, just now retired drain commissioner, as a portion to the Charter Township of Pere Marquette, the city of Ludington, the county of Mason, for highways under the control of the county board of road commissioners. Well, there's your responsible party. Remember we talked earlier what part of Mason County is responsible? And so now we have our boundaries designated as 1st Street, Jababi Drive, Johnson Road, and 6th Street in the state of Michigan for highways under the control of the Michigan Department of Transportation designated as US 10 and Pere Marquette Highway. The respective percentage which each shall be and hereby made liable to pay in the establishment and maintenance of a certain drain known and designated as the Creamy Corners Outlet Extension intra-county drain by reason of benefit to the public health, convenience, and welfare on account thereof and as the means of improving the highways. A drain is built for the benefit of somebody, and those that benefit for it got to pay for it. And there's the boundaries listed in this agreement for the establishment and the maintenance of that drain. And who benefits from it? In that meeting in July of 2013, they tried to tell the owners, you're benefiting from it. You got to have some skin in the game. They don't benefit from this drain. They're not even in that boundary. The boundary got knocked out and had to be rebuilt. And when it got knocked out, it poured sewage and asphalt and concrete and everything else is sitting in there today. So here it is. So let's take a quick look. Let's take a quick look again and let's recall what the city manager said, who was responsible.
Upstream, Kerry.
The watershed brought a lot
The
of
city of
stuff.
Ludington is, the point of clarification is we know where the city limits are now.
Yep.
Now, the point of clarification is who's responsible for the drain and sewage utilities that go through there?
The drain commissioner is responsible for the maintenance of that drain, not the city of Ludington.
Really? Really, the city of Ludington isn't responsible for that drain? What benefit of the doubt would you give anybody on this? At the bottom of this drain, it says, given under my hand this 28th day of January, A.D. 1999. This meeting was July 18, 2013. I'm going to burn that day in your heads. July 18, 2013. The city of Ludington isn't responsible for that drain. Pardon me. Two municipalities, the state of Michigan and the county of Mason, are responsible for that drain. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look at that drain. Let's take a look at the road. Let's take a look at it, folks. Okay. So here we have Google Maps. And let's try to go by the boundary. So we had by the boundary, let's just pop right here. We have by the boundary, 1st Street, Jababi Drive, Johnson Road, and 6th Street. That's a boundary right there. And then we have another boundary here for state of Michigan for highways under control of the Michigan Department of Transportation, designated as US 10 and Pere Marquette Highway. So that cannot be a part of this, and let me show you why. Because here is the Bayou. Let's just bring that in. We wanted to show you this. This is Ray's Auto Marine in here. This is Lundy Boat. This is Tamarack. You see, here's the two culverts. Here's where the drain system, you'll be able to follow this whole border. Okay. You see it, you can see it coming in. You see the growth, the lily pads, the weeds that grow in here. The water's got to be a certain depth, and these weeds didn't used to be there. So let's get our boundary. So our boundary, let's go right back here. 1st Street. So we were looking at 1st Street. Excuse me here. Here's 1st Street. So here's a boundary. 1st Street. And they said part of that went to Pere Marquette Highway. Well, here's Pere Marquette Highway. Here's US 10. Well, there's quite a few businesses out here. McDonald's, Holiday Inn. What side is this? How this drain system? Here's your drain. Right here. Now, I'm not an engineer. Somebody engineered this. He called this the Creamy Corner Drain. Now, part of that boundary is Johnson Road. So here's US 10. Well, where's Johnson Road? Let's see. Let's find Johnson Road. Here's Tinkham. Now here's another boundary. Jabavi Drive. Let's take a look. Here's another boundary. Jabavi Drive. So you got to include this. Your drain goes all the way back. It captures Jabavi Drive to Johnson Road right here. So we're going to zoom this back out. Here's our point of origin. So we came back down First Street. We came back. And basically, we're Johnson Road, Jabavi. This whole area drains into here. All of this. Okay, so we're able to put together somewhat of a boundary here. We do not have a western boundary that's given. We have 6th Street, we have 1st Street, we have Johnson Road. So here's 6th Street, here's Johnson Road. We've got Jabavi Drive that comes into US 10 down to Pere Marquette Highway. So this is our watershed right here. Here's a watershed. But what about all this? So some engineers have some questions that they have to answer. We have a way to find this out, and we can do that. But this is a huge watershed. This is residential area. This is industrial areas. This is the railroad. And it empties into the bayou. When it rains, sand happens, dirt happens, pollution happens. And this is all unattended. Drain commissioner, in some respects, the city manager's right. It was the drain commissioner's responsibility to make these 4 entities of this inter-county drain responsible to take care of this watershed. And look at the surrounding watersheds. Look at the water that's around there. Their responsibility. Take a map of Michigan, folks, and look at the watersheds in Michigan. Look at the Muskegon watershed. Look at Saginaw. Look at Detroit. Look at Kalamazoo. The Natural Resource Commission meets in Kalamazoo, near Kalamazoo, coming up this week. That watershed's important to them. So here we have the boundary of our watershed. So in case you're not able to get to a watershed map, we'll pull up some watershed maps here for you. Here is one by an organization out of Traverse City, LIAA. They've done a lot of planning and sustainability studies within Mason County. The Ludington, just to bring something up here, the Ludington Planning Commission met, and it's something that you can watch online of the Ludington Planning Commission. And the city manager was speaking to the management from LIAA and asked if they wanted the area of the bayou included. They called it Fishtown, and everybody acted like they were surprised and said, "No, take that out of the plan." That gives you an idea. That's Ludington's own property. That they have that boat dock that we showed on the map, and they don't want anything to do with cleaning that area up. They don't want it into the plan. So that's their statements, and that's for you to decide why they're doing that. But here, anyway, is the watershed of the Pere Marquette River. And you see the main branch outlined there in red. And it's emptying right into the bayou. So this watershed that we showed you the boundaries of, that was described of the intra-county drain agreement. But let's just take a look at this watershed. And that's what it says under Figure 5, Wild and Scenic River Act Streams, Pere Marquette River Watershed. And it's emptying into the main branch and empties into these other parts. I'll show another map here that shows what's considered the Pere Marquette White Lake watershed. Now, I mentioned that earlier. And here that is. It's a little bit of a blurry shot. But right here is the Ludington branch. This is a Ludington branch that they're talking about. Comes from Baldwin. But this spreads on right down into Newaygo County. Into Newaygo, works its way down into White Lake. And, of course, this is showing Muskegon. So it is a huge watershed, as I said before. But to keep in mind and understand that this is a tremendous watershed, and it empties into that bayou. So you don't have to go to your computer and take a look at the watersheds, but it's significant to take a look. And when you take a look at this area and you see all this water that we live around, and you wonder, how do we build around this? Just take a look at the Ludington area and look at all the water that we have here. This is going from Custer into Ludington. It's just tremendous. Here's the city of Scottville. That's a lot of water that's moving. I'd like to finish up part 4 here, just taking a look at the bayou and where the salmon fishing began. The people in this area, this is where the history is. Now, there's some people that would like you to think that the history began here and here. This marina, Lundy Boat, has been here since 1895. Tamarack was built in 1965. Ray's Auto Marine was built in 1976. You have Abrahamson's and you have Thompson's Marina, built about the same time as Ray's Auto Marine. We got a lot to show you of why these other marinas were built, so they could directly compete against these marinas with your tax dollars, millions of dollars, just to clean this up was over $3 million, just to clean it up, just to start digging. This was millions of dollars. Ludington matched the funds. Ludington and the DNR owns this and leases this. But yet, you're told it's a private marina. But we showed you in Transparency 2 and 3 that this was part of the Harbors of Refuge. I hope you figured this out. People that helped this place, that these people helped. These people taught people how to fish for salmon. And then the DNR let these people come in. And I talked about public purpose. The public purpose was being taken care of right here. And there's a lot of room right here. And right here. And right here. To have put marinas. And not your taxpayer money to compete. There could be a public purpose here. If it was filled up here, all of this, then it still would be an argument. Would the private sector put these marinas in here? Would they have had the ability to do it? Would a developer have decided to come in here and do this and put in condominiums? I told you I like to read a statement. I really think this sums up what we want to get conveyed. Because we've been talking about a watershed. And there is no watershed council from Pere Marquette Highway. You saw the earlier map where Pere Marquette Highway is at. It's right down here. Okay. Don't want to get you dizzy. I know it would me. I apologize if that's happening. But there's no watershed council here. There's no way to look for grants. There's no way to have a pathway to work with one another. There's 4 entities. Ludington, the city of Ludington is one of the most irritating sounds that I heard was that these owners needed to have skin in the game to get that dredged out because that drain served them. I hope we have proved it doesn't serve them. That drain serves these people on the borders that I showed you. There's certainly, if there'd be any boundary, it's Madison Street right here. And that's where they claim is the boundary. That's where they claimed on July 18th, 2013, that was the boundary. So, we're announcing the formation of the Pere Marquette Ludington Watershed Council, formed to bridge the gap between townships. The unity will form the coalition needed for Mason County and Ludington to help obtain the resources needed to move forward, enabling our community to streamline our natural resources, not only for sustainability watershed, for the safety, health, and wealth for the people in the future, but also create a sustainable environmental foundation enabling the private sector for further development and reverse the decay and pollution within our communities at the beginning of this one and only waterfront. This is where it begins. This is transparency. Until next time, goodbye.